Hey there YouTube, this is Michael with Michael Mays Leatherworks, and today, as promised, we're going to cover creating a custom rifle sling that you can make for yourself, friends, or a customer. Now, to save time, I've gone ahead and I've sketched out the overall design of the sling, but I'm going to walk you through each step of how I designed this so that you too can follow along and make your own pattern. So, first thing that we're going to start with is our main body of the sling. This is the part that goes over your shoulder, okay? Now to do this, I drew a rectangle that's 18 inches long by 3 inches long. Now to get the perfect lines, I have a large square that is 24 inches by 16 inches. You can pick these up at Lowe's, Home Depot, any of your local hardware stores should have these. But what I do is I just get this kind of squared up with my mat, and then I take my paper and just butt it right up to the edge. And then if you have a weight similar to this one or anything else, that works really nice to help your paper, keep your paper from moving around. Now a trick that some of you guys might not know is if you have a second square, like this one's a little bit smaller, you can use this to make sure you get perfectly parallel lines, which for me is the hardest part of making a pattern on paper. So what I'll do is I'll butt this up with my my bigger square, and then you just slide it right up to your 3-inch line, and then once you have it where you want it and you make sure you're square, you just hold that down, take your pencil or pen, scribe your line out, and then as you can see, I've run out of room. This one's only 12 inches, so that's not a problem though. This line is already nice and long, so what we can do is we can use this main body line here on the outside. We can line up to it and then come on down. Once we're lined up, we can come on down, continue our line out till we hit our 18 inches. Now since we're here at the end of our 18 inches, what we can do then is just take your square, turn it upside down like a big number 7, butt this up right up against your 18-inch mark, which is right here for me, and then I'll just go ahead and scribe down until I hit my outside line. Now also while I'm here, I know that I want to come from 3 inches down to 2 inches. So I need to take a 1/2 inch off each side of my rectangle. So what I've done is I've come in a 1/2 inch here and I've made a tick line, and then I've come in from 3 to 2.5 inches and I've made another tick line. And then also what I want to do is right in between these tick lines, these tick marks here at the 1/2 inch and 2.5 inch, I want to find my center point, as you can see right here, and then I want to mark my center point. And I'll do the same thing right here. 1/2 of 3 is going to be 1.5, so I have a center mark right there at the top, as you can see. Now, reason we've made these marks is, as you can see, we want to have a nice taper. You don't just want a rectangular strap. That's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be form-fitting. So what we do is you can take a ruler like this one, or you can use your square, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right at that edge, and then I'm going to come down to my mark like that right there, and then I'm going to draw that line in from the upper corner down to my mark here, and that's going to give us our first diagonal. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drop my ruler down. I'm going to find my edge, my lower edge here. I'm going to bring that up to meet my mark like you see there. You'll then take your pen or pencil, you'll scribe this line. Well, now what I do is I just put an X on this outer line, because I know that's not going to be my cut line any longer. That's a trash line. So this nice tapered form that we have here, that's going to be our main body. Now we've already previously marked our center points, so for this what I like to do is I come in 3/4 of an inch from my line here, and then from there I come out 1 more inch. So again, we come in 3/4. From this center dot, I come out here 1 inch. Do the exact same thing up here at the top. I come in on my center line 3/4 of an inch. So as you can see here, you know, I'd line up with my center line. And again, it would be hard to square it up with that. So what we would do is, or how I did this one, is I just lined it up like that right there. Because then I'm perfectly parallel to this, and as long as your paper is butted up, you're in business. Make a mark at 3/4, and then from 3/4 I'll come out to 1 3/4, so I have a 1 inch spread, and then I will do the same thing down here, and then that's it. Now that we've got these lines marked, I'm using Chicago screws. So for Chicago screws, I'm going to write in 4mm CS, because for my Chicago screws, the posts are 4mm, the lower post. So I'll write that in, and then CS for Chicago screws, and then that 4mm being there will guarantee that I don't, you know, do a smaller hole for a rivet or anything else. All right, so now that we've got this completed, go ahead and write in the name of your item. I write in main body, 3 inches by 18 inches. And then with this, we're good to go. So the next part of a sling is going to be your adjustment strap. The adjustment strap is going to be the longest part of this. And this strap here, you can really tailor to how tall you are. Some people only hunt in the summer, some people hunt all year round. Now if you're going to hunt only in the summers, you don't need as much adjustment because you're not going to be putting your rifle over winter clothes. When you hunt in the winter, you know, you're going to have extra layers on. You need to be able to compensate for that extra bulkiness of your winter clothes. So what I like to do is I make my adjustment strap 24 inches. Now this is a 1 inch strap, and really, if you have a strap cutter like this right here, you really don't even need a pattern for this. I mean, you can do a small one just to get your adjustments for your holes and your spacing. But as far as needing to lay this out on leather and, you know, actually cut it out with, you know, a razor or a craft knife, you know, these things right here will save you so much time and makes your strap work just so much easier. You literally set this to 1 inch, you know, draw it down your leather, your straps are done. They're very inexpensive. If you don't have one, I would highly recommend it. But if you don't have one, it's very easy. If you take your time to get nice straight straps just using a ruler. If you have another person to help you hold it, you know, steady while you're making your cut, it'll be a lot easier for you. But with this, I did this one exactly the same way as marking this one. So this is 1 inch, like I said, by 24 inches. So again, just take your square. I lined it up, and then, you know, come in, draw my line out, and then, of course, this isn't long enough. This is only 1 foot long. So I'd come out, and I leave myself quite a bit of room here, and I use that to line up my square for the next part of the line. Because if you've got quite a lot of line here, if this is lined up for 3 or 4 inches, you can guarantee the rest over here is going to be straight. So then, you know, you just mark it out, use that line, move it on down, make sure you're lined up with the line you previously made, and then mark it on out until you get to your 24 inches. Exactly the same thing for the top. You know, I come up to a 1 inch space. Once I get that lined up, I'll just come down, boom, move this down. I would line it up with the line I previously made, Once I get that lined up, just continue marking down until you get down to 24 or whatever custom length that you want. Like I said, this part is completely up to you. Where I'm tall, I like to have it longer, but if you're a smaller person or you're making this for a child, maybe for one of their rifles or a shotgun, you can definitely shorten this up because they don't need as much adjustability. Now, once we have that drawn to length here, I do the same thing I do before, as I'll use my square upside down, make sure my paper is parallel, and then I just come down here and I would just draw this in. Now, as you can see, the holes are set up a little different on this one. This part right here on the left part of my adjustment strap, this part is going to be for the hardware. So, you'll take your this part of your strap will go in through your swivel sling here, and then we'll come around and get Chicago screwed into place. So that's what this section here is for. Now down here, these are going to be our adjustment holes. Now I like to have a tab down here at the end. Now how big this tab is completely up to you. You can have, this right here is about 2 inches, but you could have an inch. You want a little bit of a tab there just to help with the adjustability, right? But however much you want, you'll come in and then find your center line. So this is 1 inch, so I came in 1/2 inch, marked my center line here. I then came over 2 inches and I made a mark here. Just to show you, I'll line this up. And when you're using rulers like this, pay attention to the ends of them, especially if you're using the end of your ruler here, because if you look on this one, there's actually about a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch here where it's not actually marked. So if you're marking from here and then coming out to 17, you're not going to have a full inch. You're going to have 1 1/8 inches. You know what I mean? So that's going to throw your marks off. So do be careful where you're lining your marks up with your ruler. So like you said, right here you see 17 inches, come down 2 inches, I make a tick mark, and then 1 inch down to 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and 9. Once I have those marked, I'll circle them. And to make these circles, to make them look so nice, I actually just use the circle in the end of my ruler here, just because I like for everything to be as neat as I can. So what I do is I just center that dot in the circle, and then just take your pen or pencil and then just mark around it like that, and you'll get these really nice, those really nice circles. And then again, what I'll do is I'll come down here and I want these to match these. This comes in with a 1 inch spread, so I have a 1 inch spread right here. So this will be flipped this way, and we'll have Chicago screws in right here. So I'm gonna write 4mm. Of course it breaks on me. Chicago screws, CS. Then I'll do the same thing here. I'll write in 4mm, CS for Chicago screws. Okay, now that we've got that drawn out, our adjustment strap is basically finished. Now there's only one other piece left to this, and this is the smallest strap that we'll make. And this is just what I call the hardware tab, because this tab here is going to be, again, 1 inch wide. I make this 6 inches long. That way when this bends over like that, in leather, we have enough of a bend here for our hardware to fit in, because you don't want that to be a real tight fit. You know, you don't want it to be, you don't need an excessive amount of space, but you don't want it rubbing every time it moves. Leather can squeak, and if a deer hears that, it's gone. So just like I did with the other ones, I'll take my square, I'll line my pattern up with my main big square here. Once I know that's flush, I'll put a weight on it so it doesn't move. I'll come up here, find my I'll come up 1 inch from the edge of my paper, because I'm using the edge here as a straight edge. So I'll come up, make sure that I'm nice and butted up there. I'll come to 6 inches and draw it back. And then, just like we did before, I'll butt this up to the top. Make sure it's nice and flush here. Once it is, just come down here, draw on your other mark. Now we've got the body of our hardware tab drawn out. Now this is 1 inch, so I'll come over here and find the 1/2 inch mark. I'll mark that. So as you can see, we have a 1/2 inch marked. Get that out of the way. We have a 1/2 inch marked right here. So I'm going to come in 3/4 of an inch, and then from this mark I'm going to come down 1 more inch here. So just to show you, line that up. So you can see I'm lining up with this is my 0 mark right here. It's not the end of the ruler, it's right there. So I come up to 3/4 of an inch, mark that. I'm going to come up to now 1 3/4 inches, because that gives me a 1 inch spread, and put another mark there. Now again, these are going to be, for me, it's going to be a 4mm Chicago screw, so 4mm CS. And then I'll copy the exact same thing on this side. I measured down 1/2 inch, and then measured over 3/4 of an inch, mark it, come up 1 more inch from here, mark it, circle both of them so that I know I'm putting a hole there, and then Chicago screw, 4mm. And I like to mark these as I go. So as you can see, I've got main body, adjustment strap, and then I've got hardware tab. So that's all of our main stuff drawn up. Basically this is your rifle sling. Let me get some of this out of the way here. I'll just set it in the floor now. All right. Now the next thing is, you probably don't want to make this with square edges like that. It's not going to be comfortable. So you have a couple of options. Now on these smaller tabs here, I have this craft tool from Tandy Leather. I'm not sponsored by Tandy. This is just something that I use pretty often. It goes from 1/2 inch up to 2 inches. It's really good for pattern making. But what I'll do is I'll find my 1 inch, which is right here, and this has dotted lines on it. So what I'll do is I'll just line those dotted lines up. This right here. Well, actually you'll line up just the top section of your curve. I have it right here where it's going to touch, and then what I'll do is I'll just come in with my pen or pencil, and I'm just going to draw that in. So as you can see, that's going to give us a reminder that we want to punch this with a 1 inch round. I'll turn this over. I'll line this edge up with my top line. I'll come down just to where this is going to be touching. Because if you line it up here, if your measurements are right, you'll get a really nice symmetrical end like that. And then I would just do that here on my adjustment strap. Now, even though you don't see these because this will be tucked underneath the main body, you know, just to make it look finished and complete, I'm not going to leave that, you know, square like that. Now, if you didn't want to do round edges, you could do English points, or you could literally just draw a straight line like this and down and just chamfer these edges, which will give it, you know, a nice look also. But me, I have the 1-inch round punch, strap-in punch, so that's what I'm going to use on this. So again, do the same thing. Line that up. So we would mark it down here. And we'll come down here, do the same thing. Now that we've got these marked, as you can tell, I don't have anything big enough for our main body. For that, you can get creative. I have these circle templates, which a lot of us have these. You can get these at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, anywhere really. But the one that I have only goes up to 2 1/4 inches, so that's not going to work. Now you could use it, you know, to where you come in like this, line it up here, line it up, and then draw that up and halfway, and then come and do that. But getting it perfectly symmetrical is going to be hard, and if that's off, that's going to bug me. So you can use, I saw in one of Weaver's videos, they actually used a 3-inch, what was that, a lacing spool. Well, all my lacing spools that I have huge notches in them, which would throw off your marks and it would look awful. So anything that's roughly those dimensions will work. I've got this metal disc here, and this is just a hair over 3. We're looking at about 3 1/4. So this will work. You know, you got to be use what you have on hand, you know. So what I would do is I would just set this and try to get it centered, get it right up to my middle, to the edge here, and then try to make sure you've got it about equal on both sides, and then just draw around it, you know, line to line. You know, so that's going to give us a nice radius here to follow. And then down here, you know, we should have a 2-inch, and as you can see, this template will fit that perfectly. So I'll line that up, and once I've got it lined up, got it touching here, just come back, and I'll draw this in just like that. So as you can see, you know, and this is just a reminder. I mean, you know, for me, it's just good pattern making. You know, if you're going to put in an English point, you know, I would mark that, you know, here also. And if you don't have tools for this, another way of doing this would be to take this part and cut it out, right? And then once you have that cut out, take this and fold it in half. And then once it's folded in half, you can start at the center point here and come down, and that's going to give you a perfectly symmetrical cut on both of your ends if you do that. Now most of us have something round that we can find in our house or our shop to accomplish this, so that's probably not going to be needed. But if you need that, it's definitely a method that works. So from this point here, you know, this, I'm trying to trace this on leather, it's not going to go well. Personally, what I would do is I would take this and would glue it to a piece of poster board. Don't use any kind of wet glue. You want to use the glue sticks like what you used in school. And then I would go ahead and I would cut these out. I would put glue on the back of them, and then just, you know, roll it out on your poster board and let it dry. Once it's on the poster board, go ahead and cut it out to the perfect dimensions, and then you can now have, you know, a nice durable pattern that you can, you know, use over and over again. I've got patterns, God, probably 3-4 years old, that I've made that way that are still perfectly good to use today. You know, cardstock works also. If you've got cardstock for your printer, that's also another good alternative to poster board, or for just using notebook paper. Now this, you'll notice, is a little bit longer. This is legal paper. So legal paper is what it's about. It's 8.5 by 14 inches. Yeah, 8.5 by 14. But if you don't have, you know, legal paper like this, just regular notebook paper will work, or just regular computer paper. Anything that'll just give you the length to draw your pattern out on. But that right there should be a good overview of how to sit down and create a rifle sling pattern like this. In my next video, we're going to take this, I'm going to transfer it over to poster board, and then from there we're actually going to cut this out of leather and build the sling. So guys, if this video was helpful, I would very much appreciate you liking the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and be on the lookout for the next video to come. Thanks guys.